Some time ago, I was at a book festival in Finland. When there was a free day, the publisher who had invited me asked if there were any sites I would care to see. I said I'd like to visit some prisons. Finland locks people up at well under 10% the rate we do in the United States. I was curious to see what prisons in this society looked like. Kelava prison, the first of the two that I saw, was in the countryside half an hour's drive north of Helsinki. Its governor was a warm, lively gray-haired woman named Kristi Nieminen, a former prosecutor. On this winter morning, she had about 150 prisoners in her charge, all men. The rough equivalent of an American medium security prison. Kelava had barbed wire fences, bars on some windows, and plenty of locked doors. Some prisoners worked in greenhouses outside the walls, but only if they were under guard. Most resemblance to American prisoners ended there. In greenhouses, the inmates raised flowers, which were sold to the public, as were the organic vegetables they grew. As we talked, Nieminen pointed out a stream where prisoners could fish, a soccer field, a basketball court, a grain mill, and something she was practically proud of, a barn full of rabbits and lambs. The responsibility to take care of a creature, it's very therapeutic, she said. They are always kind to you. It's easier to talk to them. For an hour or so, I had coffee with half a dozen prisoners. Marco, 36, wore a visor and had tattoos and said he was here for a violent crime that he did not specify. Jarkko, a burly 26-year-old, was doing 3 years and 10 months for a drug offense. Reima, 36, blonde and tough-looking, was in for robbery. Kala, at 48, the eldest, has committed fraud. Fernando was 26, convicted of armed robbery and selling heroin. Horror, 27, was doing 5 years for selling drugs. Also sitting with us and helping with translation were a young woman from the National Prison Service. 2 of Kelava's teachers, also both women, as well as Nieminen. No armed guards were in sight, and both officials and prisoners wore their own clothes, not uniforms. This was still a prison, however, and at 7:30 each evening the inmates were locked in their 2-man cells. Prisoners were assigned jobs, but most spent aid. A library held several thousand books, more than you would find in many American high schools, and inmates could use the National Interlibrary Loan System to get more. I attended a cooking class and shared a tasty lunch its students had prepared, Karelian stew, which included beef, pork, potatoes, and cranberries. All this was obviously another world from the overcrowded and underfunded prisons of the United States, where classes, if they happen at all, are often an afterthought. When the former Missouri State Senator Jeff Smith was sentenced to a year and a day in federal prison in Kentucky, he hoped that as someone who had taught at Washington University in St. Louis, he would be put to work teaching. Instead, he was assigned to the prison warehouse loading dock, where he absorbed and took part in the pilfering of food by both inmates and guards. A month from the end of his stay, he was finally transferred to the education unit and told to sweep out classrooms. A computer skills class consisted of the chance to sit at a computer for 30 minutes, with no instruction whatever. At a nutrition class, a guard handed prisoners a brochure with information about the calorie count of McDonald's and Wendy's and released them after 5 minutes. An effective prison education program, however, can cut the recidivism rate. The well-known one run by Bard College in the United States reduced the rate nationally 67.8% within 3 years to single digit. The BARD program, for example, offers classes leading to a college degree. They are taught by professors from BARD and other campuses and attended by nearly 300 inmates in 6 New York State prisons. A debating team drawn from these students won national attention last year when it beat a team from Harvard University. Reducing recidivism through such efforts not only is humane, but also saves money, since keeping someone locked up is hugely expensive. It costs New York State more each year to house and guard a single prisoner than the total tuition, room, and board for a student at a private university. Although the prisons I saw in Finland certainly isolated inmates from the outside world, much that happened inside them seemed directed toward making sure that released prisoners could return to society. The diploma you get on completing one of the classes, for example, is certified by an outside organization. It doesn't say you receive your training in prison. A host of services within the prison address the programs that landed men in trouble in the first place. There were programs for anger management and drug rehabilitation, as well as both individual and group psychotherapy. Prisoners could also take part in a class in life skills 3 times a week, and there was a series of speakers, former inmates, who shared their experiences of readjusting to the world. A released prisoner in the United States is frequently barred from voting, public housing, pensions, and disability benefits, and is lucky if he receives anything more than a bus fare. In Finland, before a prisoner is released, a social worker travels to his hometown and makes sure that he will have a job and a safe place to live. Small wonder that Finland's recidivism rate is far lower than our own.